So this immigration story is called The Name Jar. You can see this little girl, Eun-hye, has a jar here, and inside there are a lot of names. It's just an ordinary glass jar like this. This little girl is an immigrant, and with a name like Eun-hye, they're deciding that they should maybe choose her name for her. And Yangsook Choi, the author of this story, who also immigrated to the U.S. from Korea, she got to choose the name Rachel when she arrived in the U.S. But she says, I go by both names. And so that's the story, that's where the idea for this story came from. The Name Jar by Yangsook Choi. And there's all the names that are being suggested. Through the school bus window, Eun-hye looked out the strange buildings and the houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. I'm sure we all know that feeling, nervous and excited. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Eun-hye's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. Your name is inside, she had said. My name? Eun-hye had wondered. Again she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. There they are in the airport, ready to immigrate. Is that thing for show and tell? A boy asked Eun-hye, surprising her. Eun-hye looked up as more kids leaned over. No, it's mine, Eun-hye answered quickly, putting the pouch in her pocket. Are you new here? What's your name? A girl asked. Eun-hye, said Eun-hye. Eun-hye? The girl asked, scrunching up her face. Ooh, ooh, Eun-hye, some kids chanted. No, Eun-hye connected. It's spelled U-N-H-E-I. It's pronounced Eun-hye. Oh, it's you-hey, the boy said, like you-hey. What about hey you? And then the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Eun-hye hurried to get off. You-hey, bye-bye, the kids yelled as she left. Eun-hye felt herself blush. Eun-hye stood in the doorway of her new, noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. Aren't you going in? Asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. You're the new girl, right? He asked cheerfully. Eun-hye nodded. Before she could walk in, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. Here's the new girl, he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotas, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotas thanked him and greeted Eun-hye. Please welcome our newest student, he said to the class. She and her family just arrived from Korea last week. Eun-hye smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. What's your name? Someone shouted. Eun-hye pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet, she told the class, but I'll let you know by next week. As Mr. Kokotas showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper. Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity, a boy replied. On the bus, nobody teased her, but Eun-hye kept thinking about her name. How was school, Eun-hye? Her mom asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Eun-hye simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandmother. I'm glad you're learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, get good grades to show that you're a good Korean. I will, replied Eun-hye, but I think I would like an American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why, she said, Eun-hye is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Eun-hye complained, and I don't want to be different from all the other kids. But you are different, Eun-hye, her mother said. That's a good thing. Eun-hye just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Eun-hye and her mother went to a grocery store in their new neighborhood. They passed Fadil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, Dot's Deli. A big giraffe-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Eun-hye's favorite for soup, and it made Eun-hye smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yoon-hae. Helping your mother with shopping? Yoon-hae nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said. What's your name? Yoon-hae, she answered. Ah, that's a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Yoon-hae nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to the name master for it. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put the groceries into the bag. Welcome to the neighborhood, Yoon-hae. That evening, Yoon-hae stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully, then wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Hame, my name Shuzi, she said to the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. She's saying, Hi, my name is Shuzi. And she's got toothpaste all in her mouth. She's thinking Susie might be the name. The next morning when Yoon-hae arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in. Yoon-hae took one out and read it aloud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's nickname, but she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. She took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Yoon-hae nodded and took out another piece of paper. Wednesday? Yeah, you came here on Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Yoon-hae's face. Ralph quickly said, we'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like, or pick them all, and you will have the longest name. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of school. Yoon-hae looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey, a familiar voice called out to her. Yoon-hae turned to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Yoon-hae thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and she took out the small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block in the ink and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandmother gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandmother, I use it to fill a whole piece of paper. Want to try? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Yoon-hae said. And then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day, the jar got fuller with more names, and Yoon-hae read them all. She found a few names she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They all sounded interesting. I hope you choose the name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I put in 3, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They are my favorite street names. Maybe you should just close your eyes and draw a name out, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. When Yoon-hae got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was a letter from Grandma. She opened it quickly. It was written in Korea. It said, To Yoon-hae, I hope you're enjoying your new school and your new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here, the moon is up. There, the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, no matter how different America is from Korea, you will always be my Yoon-hae, your Grandma, forever. Yoon-hae took out her little wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom window. On Saturday, Yoon-hae went to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Yoon-hae. Hello, Mr. Kim, Yoon-hae replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Yoon-hae, he asked with his eyes open wide. Yoon-hae looked quickly at Mr. Kim and then turned to Joey. Yes, it's pronounced Yoon-hae, and it means grace, said Mr. Kim. Yoon-hae, Joey said slowly. This time he said it perfectly. Yoon-hae. It made Yoon-hae smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Yoon-hae, Joey said. He left before she could ask him why he was in the store. On Monday, Yoon-hae came to class to look at the names one last time, but the jar was gone. It wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was a single piece of paper with a name on it. Yoon-hae slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Yoon-hye said. It wasn't on Mr. Kokotus's desk or any other desk, and it wasn't on the counter or any of the shelves. As the other kids arrived, they helped look. Soon Mr. Kokotos came in and Ralph shouted at him, The name jar's gone! The jar with all the names in it! Gone, Mr. Kokotos replied. With a look of concern, he asked Yoon-hye, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Yoon-hye nodded. Then she took a deep breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Yoon-hye wrote her name in both English and Korean on the blackboard. I liked all the beautiful names and the funny names too that you thought of for me, she told them. But I realized that I like my name the best, so I chose it again. Korean names mean something. Yoon-hye means grace. Grace. Grace Yoon-hye, shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Yoon-hye, 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 Yoon-hye. Yoon-hye said her name again and again, slowly and clearly. Soon the kids began to say it better, even Mr. Kokotos. They applied at Yoon-hye's choice. I was named after a flower, Rose whispered to Yoon-hye later. Lots of American names have meanings too, said Mr. Kokotos. When the class was dismissed, Yoon-hye heard her new friends say goodbye. Bye, Yoon-hye. See you tomorrow. Bye, Yoon-hye. Yoon-hye said goodbye, then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. Yoon-hye, Yoon-hye, come downstairs, Mother called up to Yoon-hye. Your friend is here. Yoon-hye rushed to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arm was the name jar. Where did you find it? Asked Yoon-hye breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. I took it, he said, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did. He reached in and pulled out all the names. Do you want to keep them, he asked. Thank you. I will keep them. As a souvenir, Yoon-hye replied happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to class. Maybe you could put up some Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meanings. I could do that, agreed Yoon-hye. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket. Then he took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Chinku, read Yoon-hye. That means friend. And Chinku smiled back. You'll be filling out a form about a few things about this book, but also maybe it makes you think about where your name came from, and maybe you can have a conversation with your family about how you got your name. The Name Jar by Yangsook Choi.